and welcome back to the channel. Today on my workbench, for this Thanksgiving special episode, I have a set of Monsoon PlanarMedia 14 speakers. They're designed for PC use, and they sound wonderful. I don't even know how to begin to describe how good they are. That said, these have a nasty hum coming out of the subwoofer. Based on the technical complexity of the circuit, we're going to have a little bit of a challenge here figuring out what's wrong. And then we're going to fix it. And these speakers are going to be restored to their former glory. So rather than talk about it, let's get busy and do it. Okay, here we go. We have the subwoofer here on the desk. The subwoofer has a control unit that plugs into the back. It has a mute button, a volume control, and a bass control, and it also has a headphone jack. This headphone jack tells me something. The signal goes out of the subwoofer, through this, and then back into the subwoofer. Now I know that the problem isn't with the PC speakers because those speakers, whether they're connected or not, make no difference in the hum we get. So let's take a look at the hum. Well, here goes nothing. You can't hear that so good, but I'll make sure that you do hear it. Hang on. That's the hum. Now I have a spectrum analyzer here. I'm going to set my iPhone on record mode. The application I'm using is called Sonic Tools, and I will put that in the description along with the link to it. And we're going to see what the frequency is of this hum. I'm going to set up my screen to record. And then I'm going to put that in as well. So we're recording now. Let's go to Sonic Tools and we'll put it right here. That's pretty darn compelling, 62 Hertz. When you see it jump up, it's catching my voice. But 62 Hertz sort of tells the story. What it means is that that's a line hum. We have a power issue, and I've got a good idea already what the problem is. So it's time to shut off the unit, unplug it, open it up, and do a little bit of investigating. Okay, we have the subwoofer ready to be opened up. Let's get busy. First, I'm going to disconnect the control center, which is that little puck I showed you with the controls on it. So we're going to pop it open. The screws are out, so now we should be able to remove the assembly here. And that's why it's so heavy. I was about to say, holy cow. It's got a big old transformer there. And that screams out linear power supply. So let's unhook the speakers here with this connector. And now that's free. And let's see if we can get a little bit closer with the board. Not with that lens. So what I'm going to do is take a quick look at it and see if I see anything hinky. None of the caps on this board look bad. I don't think that's relevant because we're still going to change all of the caps anyway.
This is the capacitor police. We approve of this video.
Furthermore, after looking at this and trying to figure out where the wires are going, I think we should take a quick tour of the schematic and see what we're looking at, because I'm seeing no obvious signs of damage here, but we're going to change all the caps anyway. Alright, we're back on the workbench and we're set up to do a little bit of wrenching. What you see here is the guts of the unit, and I have the puck ready to be opened up and checked out. While we're in there, we're also going to hit the controls with switch cleaner and fader cleaner just to make sure that we are not going to get any scratchiness or anything of the sort. I didn't really hear anything major, but there was probably just a little bit. Hopefully the pots for the volume and bass are not sealed. If they are, then we've got a little bit of a challenge. But even still, there's usually a way to get some deoxit into them. The first thing we want to do though is we want to open this up and see if we've got any little surprises lurking in there. We pop that open and we see a circuit board. Interesting. The strain relief is on the inside. And that is intentional apparently because the hole that is carved in the puck, let me zoom in on this. The hole that is carved in the puck is precisely fit to the cable and the strain relief is inside. Now let's lift this out. Oh, we're going to have to take the knobs off. That would help. So let's pull the bass knob. It comes out easily. The volume knob also comes out very easily. And looking at this, let me get this in the camera view for you. What the heck is that glop? It doesn't look like adhesive. The adhesive they use on this unit appears to be black. And it looks like it is gooped down to the op amp chip that's on this little board. That is somewhat interesting. By the way, looking at these potentiometers, I think they may be at least partially sealed. The way you get when you have a pot that's sealed, just a little bit, is you put the deoxit in a dropper bottle and you put it around the shaft and then work it in. That'll generally get it in there. What's interesting is we have some 220 at 16 volt, 100 at 16 volt, one at 50. In this one here, the messy one is also a 100 at 16. The trouble is they're all really stubby short capacitors, probably to fit in the enclosure, which means I'm going to have to do just a little bit of inventiveness in order to get those suckers out. Okay, my desoldering tool is working. My soldering iron is up and running. And we're going to need to remove the PC board from the backing. There are screws in the heat sink, which I'm going to attempt to remove and get us into the unit. Okay. Now let's see if we can get the board just came right off. That's good news. Okay, it's connected to the transformer. I'm going to put a white mark there and a white mark on this side of the board so I know where to resolder the transformer when I put the board back together. So let's flip her over and okay, my gun is working properly. Let's just give it a little bit of removage here. Now that was easier than I thought it was going to be. When you have these giant blobs of solder like that, it's usually a problem for these kind of guns. By the way, the reason I'm holding the gun point up and running the suction is to make sure all the solder gets out of the gun barrel and far away. So this is out, and that means we can move the transformer out of the field of view here. Let's take a look at this. We're going to unscrew the bridge rectifier from this heat sink. Okay, that's out. Let's have a peek at these caps. First of all, that 4700, I want to see what the label is and go back to the schematic on that. But first, let's remove the 8200. I want to test that on screen and see what it says. Because my guess is that either the ESR is going to be sort of high. Okay, that looks like it's almost off. See if we can get that one to go. see if that's enough to get it off. It is. It comes right out. Good, because there was adhesive on the board. It does not have a label on it that says, I should have zoomed in on that a little bit. Sorry about that. But let's take a look at this. I'm going to move this. Let's zoom up. And where this is, I'm going to move that. And I'm going to put my little tester. Just to let you know, at this point, I have no sponsorships of any kind. If you see something on this channel, I bought it. If something is sponsored at a later date and paid for by either the manufacturer or one of the suppliers, I will let you know. When you start it up, it'll say nothing like that. No component are damaged. Then we hit it and it's going to do a process test. Let me see if I can do this a little bit. Okay, it says 9400. The ESR looks good, but the 9400, it's drifting high. So, and that's definitely more than spec. So we're going to put this guy in. It's a single-sided board, so if I have to drill the holes bigger to fit the snap connections, we will. Let's have a quick peek at that and see if we need to do that. I'm going to flip this and I'm going to remove that 4700 because I'm really interested in knowing more about that. Good news, I managed to figure out a way to get the 4700 microfarad cap to sit in there. I squiggled the leads in. Here we go. I'm going to solder that one in place. And then I've also started looking at a way to get the big one in place. I removed a ceramic cap that was in the way, and I'm going to move it to the back of the board. And that should make it a little bit easier. This here, we have a there, that's in. That big fat ground plane was really sucking up the heat. But this, that's in. In order to hold it better, I think that what we're going to do is we're going to put a little hot snot around it. You could see it was adhered with adhesive before. And we're going to try and get that. This is where I took out that little tiny ceramic cap. Try and do the fitting on this side of the board to see what I have to do. And if we take a look at it, you will see that these snap-on pins are, after I bent them a little bit, are just a little bit wide. I think I may have to get out my little hand drill and drill these both out. Now, what do you look for when you're going to drill out a hole in a PCB? First of all, is the board double-sided? No, everything is on one side on this board. You can see that clearly here. There's no trace on this side of the board. Also, is the board multi-layered? And it is fairly clear it is not. All the traces are on this side of the board. So what we're going to be doing is drilling. We'll be drilling here. Let me put it into the camera. We'll be drilling here and here. This is where I'm going to mount another ceramic cap on this side. And for safety's sake, I'll put a little bit of Kapton tape down so that we don't short anything. I don't think that's really possible, but much better safe than sorry. So I think I'm going to drill that out, and that will give us a little bit of play in order to fit in the big cap, and we can keep on working. Moving that and that, we'll get that big fat cap in there. And then what we'll do is we'll go through in speed mode and replace all the other electrolytics on this board. And then we're going to turn our attention to the little puck board. Okay, I have here a hand drill, and I've got a 1.4 millimeter bit on it. And now I'm going to try and drill it out. So this hole is already close to 1.4 millimeters. And I strongly recommend, if you're going to do something this aggressive, that you practice on boards that have no value to you. This has very high value to me, and I'm very uneasy doing this, but it's what needs to be done. Otherwise, I have to go and delay this video. Now, if you look, let me zoom in. The holes are significantly larger. We're going to try putting it in from the back side and see if it fits. It is close, but the cigar evades me. I'm going to try moving these inward and see if I can get them to hook. There are things you don't want to do with the cap, and this is right at the very edge. I wonder if I have a slightly larger drill bit that I could use. I think my limit is 1.4 on these micro bits, but I might have another one. I'm going to get up and look, and if I do, we'll do a quick jump. Okay, I have a 2mm drill bit that I'm going to put in. Let me just verify that size on this. Why is it there? Yeah, 1.9. Okay, that will definitely be taking us up to the limit, and I may even have to do some work. As you can see, that really drilled it out a lot. Will this fit? Yeah, it fits in. Now let's see if it fits in from the operative side, or if I have to drill the other one the same way. I have to drill both holes out that way, and then I'm going to have to do some serious repair. And I'm going to attempt to attach it right now. It's solder time. That side is in. Now let's try and get this side in. That looks like it's in. Now I'm going to fire up the multimeter and put it in continuity mode. And I want to do some connection checking. The 4 pins you see over here are the bridge rectifier. And continuity to the bridge rectifier with low resistance is going to be critical. Okay, we're on DC volts. We don't want that. Let me get out my probes. By the way, don't skimp on probes. Get good ones. Probe Master. No, Probe Master is not paying me. I wish I had somebody paying me. Because I'm a person who likes eating. So I have a day job because otherwise I can't pay for this. Okay. On continuity. Let's see, we're going to first test between here, and it says no ohms at all. Now I'm going to test to ground. No ohms at all. That is great. I need to do that with the other capacitor too. .2 ohms. I'm a little concerned about that. We're going to check that out. And this one here goes through here over to this one. That's good. Now we need to put a tiny cap here on the back side in order to handle what we took out. It's a 0.1 microfarad, and what I'm going to do is get out one from this pack of monolithic caps, and this should do the trick, because the other one, I felt it crack a little bit when I was taking it out. So rather than risk it, we'll install it. A new one. We'll just put in a new one. Oh, this fits beautifully. So we're gonna pull up the leads as much as we can just for safety. And we're gonna solder this in, and then a little bit of Kapton tape will be in order. So this is Kapton tape, even though, and I'm going to try and zoom in on this one and focus it up. Kapton makes you think of a law enforcement officer sunning on the beach. Hilarious what they do in order to make your cheap Chinese stuff recognizable without violating trademarks. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting off a piece of this Kapton tape, and we're going to put that down behind the cap just as a little bit of insulation. Not that it's really going to hit anything, but as I said previously, better safe than sorry. This needs to be smaller. There it goes, it's down. That's folded down and will present no problems. And actually, for the sake of safety, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit over the top of it. Not that it comes into contact with anything, but as I said, better safe than sorry. So let's cover it up like that. And now our circuit is restored to its previous performance levels. Now, let's start replacing capacitors on this board. And here we go, soldering in the other caps in speed mode. Caps on this board, all the electrolytics are now replaced. I will go through them quickly. We got a really big 10,000 microfarad 63 volt in place of the 8200 25 volter. You can always go up in voltage, and in certain places you can go up in capacitance provided you don't go too far. With this one here, if you go more than 20% over, you're going to have inrush problems, and then you'll have to look at putting in an NTC or something like that in order to stop them. Over here, we have a 4700 microfarad 40 volt replacing a 4700 over 25. Every other cap was replaced exactly with the same value that was in there before. This here's a 330, these two are 470s, and these two are 2.2. So, that board is done. Now we got to go on to the little puck board with Mr. Suspicious over here. I don't know, that is not the same color as any other adhesive on the, well, actually there is a little bit there. Let's zoom in. There's a little bit there that appears to be the same color. You're asking the colorblind guy to identify colors. This one here, it looks like they tacked it down to the let me try and clip it and see. It is tacked down to the op amp, It's a 100 microfarad, 16 volt stubby little guy. I just hope I can figure out a way to get in what I've got. We have another one, 116 here, two 220s over 16 in that there. I can't read it from here. That is a 100 over 25. And then these here are 1 microfarad over 50. So we're going to have to start pulling these guys out too. We'll start out with Mr. Suspect here. What is that again? It is a 100 over 16, and then I'll go looking for it, and we will go to speed mode again. Holy cow, what a puzzle. I managed to get them all squished in there, and I don't have anything shorting out on anything else, or so it looks. I'm going to triple check before I seal it up. I did take the clamshell, put it on, verify that it fits comfortably. It does, so that's taken care of. Now it is time to clean up the potentiometers and call it a day with the clamshell. And then let's put it back together and run a test and see where we're at. Did we get rid of the hum? Hopefully, yes. Okay, here we go. We're going to try and clean out the potentiometers here and here. I have a little empty bottle here into which I am going to squirt some Deoxit F5 fader cleaner. This beautiful stuff right here. I'm doing that because I don't have any Deoxit 100 in-house. And what I'm trying to do is accumulate enough to get in there, and that should be plenty. I've got about 5 milliliters in here. It's cold too, so you can tell it got out. And what I'm going to do is put this on here, and I have a fine injection tip here. And all I'm going to do is, so you can see it just went it looks pretty shiny in there anyway. So I think we've got this done. A little bit of paper towel cleanage and maybe some IPA around the outside to clean it up. But I think we're going to be in good shape. Generally speaking, Deoxit cleans up nicely. And what it does for electronic components, especially faders, the fader cleaner is beyond excellent. To be brutally honest with you, I did not think that we were going to be able to wiggle in those caps and that I was going to have to delay the production long enough to order caps from Mauser with the stubby profile that the originals had. Now it's time to reassemble the puck. We've got everything set up here to do our first test. Back's power switch is on, but everything is plugged in through the dim bulb tester. We'll power up the dim bulb tester, and we will put on one bulb to start. Let's power up and see what happens. Okay, we have a tiny amount of inrush, but not much. Let's see what happens if we give it 2, because if it were a short, we'd have a major inrush. We're up to 117. No more glowing bulbs. And this is going all the way up, and we're only drawing 13 watts of power. Everything looks good from the dim bulb tester side. We'll bypass at this point and shut off the other ones. And time to do the big test. Unmute it and see what happens. Well, here goes nothing. Now I hear nothing at all. No hiss, no hum. And when I unmute it, no light. Something is wrong. All right, we are back here, and I have some good news and some bad news. First, for the good news. I had forgotten to plug in the puck, and that's why we got no sound. Now the bad news. The sound I got was full of the same hum. So I went on a little bit of an investigation, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what I did. First, I am starting up my secondary camera. And that's going to be recording my multimeter, which I'm now putting into diode mode with a beeper on. And we're going to start here. First of all, let's put our red on positive, our negative on the AC, and we see a voltage drop of a roughly 0.84 to 0.9. It's actually going up slightly. A little over 1 voltage drop this way. Now let's swap them, and we should get open. Put this on here, and that beep, it's beeping backwards. The diodes in this rectifier are trashed. So that will let through the hum. Now if I go and do it this way and put the negative on the output negative DC and test on the AC inputs, I get the 1.x. But when I switch it around and hit that, same thing. This is toast. I had planned to do a real demonstration and show you guys the wonders of the Tektronix P5200 high voltage differential probe and throw this up on the scope, but with the capacitors in circuit, it would not have helped anyway. So it is, let's get this sucker out of here time, and we will replace the bridge rectifier. Okay, that is out. Now it's laugh time. I got 20 of these from DigiKey because they're so cheap. Components are cheap. Shipping is expensive, and the shipping was still more than these 20 components. So I have one out, and we're going to reinstall it rather quickly. But the funny thing is when I got that, it came in a 3-foot long, a 36-inch long box. It was hilarious. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert this in, And there's so much excess that we will not have a problem. We will seat this perfectly centered. I'm going to put in the set screw before I solder the leads so that the leads will be held exactly where they need to be to have no stress, and my hands are getting covered with that gunk. So as soon as I screw this in, you'll see a jump while I go clean up. I'm cleaned up and the junky stuff is in the trash. Now, before I resolder this in place, we are going to test this. I need to clean this with a little IPA. I don't want to use a water-based cleaner because I don't want to do anything that would skew the results of the multimeter. I'm not going to put it under live load. I'm just going to do this, and then we're going to go ahead and put the rectifier back in, or put the new rectifier into circuit with soldering, and then we're going to test it out, and my guess is that we will have no further problems. So this is ready for another quick test, and let's do that, and then I can have what I need in order to repair. So we'll start with negative on this, positive here, and we see open when this should not be open. Now positive or negative on positive, and we're seeing drops that we shouldn't see. This is really weird. It is behaving erratically. I'm 100% sure, well, let's just say 99.9, because you'll never know whether or not I'm missing something here, because I've already missed this. I should have gotten it in the first instance. Same way I should have gotten it to record. So that you could have seen the drama firsthand. Okay, that's one. Let's zoom in for the two. Soldering vertically is always fun. And if you didn't know, that was on that response was given on maximum sarcasm. But it's in. Okay, so that went very quickly. So next step, we'll back off here, go back up, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and we'll be right back to test. Let's first of all, before we do that, we're turned off. I should put this on the dim bulb. So if all the power in the room goes out, you know that I've screwed up again. Okay, we're ready to do our next test here. I'm going to insert the puck first. Make sure mute is muted. And we're going to put the puck in its place. I should quit calling it that. I'm afraid that YouTube is going to say that I've got naughty language and give me problems. So let's turn it on. Nothing blew up. Okay, that worked as expected. And what I am going to do is I'm going to put one of the scopes on the screen. After all, you will see it momentarily. I've decided to show you what a high voltage differential probe and an oscilloscope can do. The scope is on and it's set to a very low frequency, and this differential probe is here. And watch this when I put this into a live AC. Well, here goes nothing. You know what? It didn't work. You know why? I don't have power to the differential probe. Two ways to get power to a differential probe. or at least this model of Tektronix. One is with a wall wart, and the other is with a 9-volt battery. The 9-volt battery gives you a cleaner signal. But anyway, here goes nothing. Now let me give you just a little bit more intensity on the scope. And let's get that trigger set. There's the trigger. That is a 120 volt, and it's been reduced to about 8 millivolts because we are on, or pardon me, 800 millivolts because we are on a 500 to 1 scale. If I went to 50 to 1, it blows off the screen, but there it is. So with power in here now, and I got to be careful because I'm dealing with live AC, we're going to first go to the AC side, and you can see a very small wave there. Let me go to 50 to 1 so that it's a little bit easier to see. That is AC coming in. Now let's put it on positive and negative out of here. And now instead of seeing garbage, we see pretty much flat DC. So that is working. Now I'm putting these leads on the cap. This is the smoothing cap in, and it's also showing DC. A very nice DC waveform. And if we go up here, that is the DC going, if I held it on right, that is the DC coming in. It looks crappy because, frankly, that's what happens with AC power. But what this is telling me is everything is working. So a little bit of safety discharge is in order. And it'll probably be discharged before I get to it. But this has big resistor in here somewhere, and it is just pulling the power right out of that. So capacitor discharge extra is not needed. But we got it done. Okay, it's up, it's running, and the hum is almost completely gone. It sounds pretty good, I think. And I think the way we'll do that is we will play some royalty-free music. It's a working. That completes this project. And man, this one was a fun one with a complete mess up. Now we have almost zero hum coming out of the speakers. I could dive back in and look for more instances where we could change something to try and get past more hum. But we've got a pair of 24-year-old speakers here that still need a cosmetic restoration. I mean, it's got little glitches and scratches all over the grill. Don't even get me started on the side cabinets, but they sound wonderful. I cannot tell you how much I love the sound of these, and they're going back on my desktop computer. And you just heard them playing from my desktop computer and playing perfectly. So thank you so much. Please remember to subscribe and like. If you go to my Patreon page, which is linked in the description, you can join my Patreon for no money at all if you want to still keep up on the stuff that's going on here at the workshop. Thank you for coming. May you have joy unspeakable and full of glory in the peace that passes all understanding.